Well, this is kind of crazy because there's now actual radio chatter that proves that there may be some insane changes to the war in terms of nuclear warfare. A nuclear radio channel that has never been used by America is now being used. So yeah, that's a little scary. Also, Trump is evacuating a lot of Americans out of the Middle East, probably in anticipation of flattening a certain area. Danielle Smith in Alberta is issuing her final warning to Prime Minister Mark Carney and the rest of Canada because Alberta is that close to separating. And Pierre Poilievre has tanked in popularity, so much so that the Conservatives might be doing a leadership review and ousting him. Oh, yeah. And Mark Carney is meeting with Trump literally ASAP and talking about a deal at the G7, which might actually trigger the tariffs being removed because it feels like this was just a way of Trump strong-arming Canada with the tariffs to get what he wanted, which is more money put into our defense. So yeah, there's some good, there's some bad, and there's definitely some ugly. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage y'all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. Let's see how many likes we can get, how many thousands of likes. There's a lot to take a look at in this video, and I do hope you stick around for the full thing. So let's just get right into it. Starting off with the fact that War Monitor on Twitter, or X, is saying that China sends 2 aircraft carriers into the Pacific for the first time ever. So that's kind of crazy. Also, open source intel is saying that U.S. Air Force high frequency radio 11175 kilohertz is active. The ground station mainsail is confirming the identity of 2 aircraft's call signs Rhetoric and Compass as they join a secure military communication network. This frequency is used for strategic and nuclear command. Activity may be routine, but it is also maybe tied to high-level operations.
Rhetoric, this is mainsail, stand by for authentication, over.
Yikes. This is also a good reminder that if you're not into prepping, it might not hurt you to kind of look into it. Get yourselves a ham radio, get yourselves a battery packet, maybe some solar panels, some, collapsible solar panels. Get yourself some stuff, just beans and rice and whatever you can, because we don't know what could happen. But if something were to happen, there won't be any time to prepare. Donald Trump, when asked by reporters as he was leaving a building getting ready to fly to Canada, specifically Alberta, which is where he is at this moment, was asked, why are U.S. dependents of military personnel being evacuated from the Middle East? A true gentleman.
Mr. President, why are U.S. dependents being authorized to leave the Middle East? Say it. Why are U.S. dependents of military personnel being authorized to leave the Middle East? We'll have to say thank you.
We'll have to see. Thank you, man. Things are just scary with everything that's going on. Like, Trump is not messing around. You're seeing him deploy the National Guard. You're seeing him use the Marines. China's getting closer with a couple of boats in the Pacific that they've never done before. Military chatter on certain radio frequencies that could mean something. It could also just be nothing. It's just getting kind of spooky out there. That's not the only thing that President Trump also said.
Give us an update on Iran. Because you're in charge. Mark.
Say it again.
Yes, a question from Newsmax. Could you provide an update on Iran? We're hearing reports that U.S. personnel are being moved out of the region within striking distance.
Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But they are we've given notice to move out, and we'll see what happens.
Is there anything that can be done to dial the temperature down in the region?
They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that.
Mr. President.
And he's not messing around. I mean, as long as they have a nuclear weapon, President Trump is going to take immediate action. But let's just move away a little bit from the nuclear and the warfare and that type of stuff. What about tariffs? Well, President Trump had this to say about tariffs and the ongoing trade war, not just with Canada, but other countries around the world.
We're rocking in terms of deals. Now, at a certain point, we're just going to send letters out, and I think you understand that, saying this is the deal. You can take it or you can leave it. You don't have to use it. You don't have to shop in the United States, as I say. So at a certain point, we'll do that. We're not quite ready. We're dealing with quite a few countries, and they all want to make a deal with us, every one of them.
Who's next? Who are you expecting to get a deal with next?
So we're dealing with Japan, we're dealing with South Korea, we're dealing with a lot of them. We're dealing with about 15 countries, but as you know, we have about 150 plus, and you can't do that. So we're going to be sending letters out in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, to countries, telling them what the deal is, like I did with EU.
And are you happy with the EU right now? You were unhappy with them about 10 days ago.
Well, I'll let you know in about a week. They do want to negotiate, I will say that.
And as we're speaking right now, as this video is live, President Trump, at least his motorcade, has already landed in Alberta, setting up perimeters. You've already have sites of, American military planes that are flying above the fighter jets, securing the perimeters, doing what they do best. And so there's going to be a lot of countries there, right? It is the G7, and India is also going to be attending. It's going to be heavily protested by the radical left that exists in Canada, which is a good percentage of the population. And you're going to see a lot of people gravitating immediately to President Trump going, hey, can we have the terrorists removed? Can we have the terrorists removed? I mean, it's going to be an absolute shit show is basically what I'm trying to say. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments about that. Do you think that something good is going to come at the G7 summit? Let me know what you guys think, because it can't get that much worse, at least not for the Conservative Party of Canada. New polling has come out that confirms, vis-a-vis Nanos, confirms what Ecos discovered, that support for Pierre Poilievre has evaporated. So in new numbers, you've got right here, you've got Mark Carney. We'll start with the PPC. PPC on the far right of the screen, not the political spectrum, the far right of the screen, I'm just going to move myself out of frame, is 1.8%. And then you have the Green Party at 2.8%. And then you have the NDP at 3, the Bloc at 3. You have Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives at 26%. And Mark Carney is up to 50%. I mean, that is huge, huge. And, I kind of believe it, because Mark Carney is actually like committing to do just a defense piece, saying we're going to hit 2% this year. That's something that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives were saying they were going to do, but by the year 2030. So the fact that he's doing something that literally no prime minister has done since like the Cold War is good. And where's he getting the money from? Blah, 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 all the other stuff. Yeah, I get it. He carries a lot of baggage. But right now with our defense spending, he's kind of doing something that the Conservatives wanted to do, and he's kind of doing it a little bit better. Now, in terms of Pierre Poilievre, why are his numbers low? What does the party think of this? Well, reporters actually tried to stop at least some Conservatives in the halls of Parliament, and were not successful. This is actually, it's somewhat embarrassing and also kind of funny.
New data shows that the Conservatives are down 10 points. Do you have any concerns about that?
These are all Conservative
Conservatives
MPs.
are down 10 points according to a Nanos poll. Any concerns? A new poll shows the Conservatives are down 10 points. Are you having any concerns about that? The Conservatives are down 10 points in a Nanos poll. Do you have any concerns about the Conservatives being down 10 points in the Nanos poll? Do you have any comment on that?
I just gotta go.
What do you think about this poll?
Jess, right?
He He's just got a call, he says. Like, he doesn't have a call. You can see on his phone that Andrew Scheer doesn't have a call. That's his home screen. That's his home screen. Like, he's faking having a call so that he doesn't have to talk to a CTV reporter. Like, it's hilarious, but it's also a little bit embarrassing.
Just rang.
It just rang.
It's on silent.
It's on silent.
No, it's worst timing.
It didn't even ring. I'm so surprised.
It's on silent, but I felt it.
It's on silent, but I felt it. Yeah, that's just not true. We saw that you were on the home screen. You weren't on a call. So, I mean, I can't blame the conservatives for not wanting to answer these questions, but there is something fundamentally wrong with the Conservative Party right now. And the criticism that I've been getting online, it feels like I'm saying what people are thinking, and I'm getting positive closeted reactions and a decent amount of negative backlash. I'm not gaining subscribers by saying any of this. I'm probably losing subscribers, but people are thinking, oh, well, he's not a true conservative because he's criticizing the conservatives. He must be a liberal. Like, that's the furthest thing from the truth. I sold pro-conservative lawn signs, pro-conservative merch, shield the heck out of the conservatives. Like, that was insane. Live streamed every single event that happened, every single rally, and made videos. I got hundreds of thousands and ultimately dozens of millions of views for the Conservative Party for the election. Everybody, most people that are watching these videos poured their blood, sweat, and or tears into the Conservative Party to try to help them win. And they didn't. And that's fine. There's winners and there's losers. But it's what's happening now that fundamentally is not fine. And what's happening now is there is no sense of direction. They're lost. We don't even have a leader. I get it. We got to wait for him to get his seat. I get that argument. But Pierre Poilievre, when he's talking, he used to be believable. You used to feel like he was a genuine guy from like small town Saskatchewan or Alberta that you could relate to. And he was like, boots, not suits. Okay, yeah, this guy, even though he's a career politician, is really trying to appeal to the average common folk to convince us to vote for him. And it worked. It wasn't like a magic trick. He didn't, deceive us. But what we're finding out now, in a moment of turmoil, in a moment of defeat, aside from the concession speech, is that the conservatives are nowhere to be found. In question period, they're on their phones. In question period, they're asking the same questions over and over the exact same way or slightly different. They are not there to engage in anything. It doesn't feel like the conservatives have their heart in it. And a root cause of this problem isn't necessarily the MPs, even though, yes, they do have bodily autonomy and they can agree or disagree with any advice that comes their way. But there is one advisor for the Conservative Party who is under fire, or so we thought. The National Post is actually defending this person, saying why Pierre Poilievre should not fire Jenny Byrne. Jenny Byrne is an advisor for Pierre Poilievre, who, and we're not even going to read the article because I don't even care about it. I really don't. Jenny Byrne is an advisor, if I'm not mistaken, who literally said after an invitation from the Joe Rogan podcast during the election campaign, no, I don't think it's a good idea because you're going to be labeled as a Trump of the North. And we don't want that. Yet he still got labeled as a Trump of the North. Well, you got to talk about tariffs, dollar for dollar retaliatory tariffs, but don't do it the same way the liberals did it. Well, he did it the same way the liberals did it, and he still got labeled as all these things. And ultimately, it ended up leading to him losing his seat. And look, we're not going to get into the semantics of what could have happened, what should have happened. We're going to talk about right now what should be happening. I personally, as a viewer of Canadian politics, a consumer of Canadian politics, this doesn't mean my opinion is right because I have a YouTube channel, but I am entitled to my opinion, just like you are. I feel Like, the Conservatives don't have their heart in it. They don't have a compass right now that has a direction of this is what we are doing. It was very easy when Justin Trudeau was the prime minister because he was an international villain. People in France, in Germany, in Luxembourg, on the other side of the world knew who Justin Trudeau was. Oh, Canada. Oh, we feel sorry for you. Yeah, because it was Trudeau. There is no more Trudeau. The Conservatives shouldn't be mentioning Trudeau in the House anymore. It feels like you're holding on to an X. Just get over it. Just get over it. Focus on right now. And what they are trying to focus on, it's not consolidated. It does not feel like every single Conservative MP has their own autonomy. It feels like they are being told what to say, when to say it. And I get that stance from a collateral damage perspective, but I disagree with it because what Canadians really want right now, or at least what I want, is I want relatability. I want to know that the Conservatives are real, genuine people. Real, genuine. Wear jeans and a shirt, drink a beer, and talk about how it's so expensive to fill up your car or charge your EV or get steaks. Go on some podcasts. Don't try to screen the questions. Have genuine conversations with people. And I'm not seeing that. And I'm not seeing that type of mentality in press conferences with or without Pierre Poilievre. Because let's be honest, when he's talking to the cameras, it does feel a little different. Okay? I'm entitled to that opinion. I'm still pro-conservative. I still want the Conservative Party to pick themselves up and piece themselves back together. But changes, in my opinion, should be made. And it should be made sooner than later, because the only real conservative politician in Canada that people actually feel like they can follow is Danielle Smith, because this is how she talks. Let's take a look. This is talking about separation. Pretty wild.
Well, I hope the Prime Minister doesn't want to test it because I take it seriously. I have never seen separatist sentiment be as high as it is right now. We've done our own polling, and we've seen numbers as high as 37%. You look historically, I don't know if it's ever been that high. But again, I've also seen it dissipate when Ottawa addresses the legitimate concerns Alberta has. And I'm not kidding that the 9 demands are my short list. I know that there are other tensions that we have with the federal government, but a lot can get resolved when you have the means, because people have good paying jobs, and you also have the revenues to be able to address some of the social pressures. Well,
okay, there you go. So a couple of things. One, she's talking about what a lot of Canadians have their eyes on, which is separatism. 2, she's relating to Canadians the fact that the truth is that there's a lot of people that are interested in it. I have not once heard Pierre Poilievre talk about the referendum in Alberta or the Alberta Prosperity Project. The fact that he wants to run a by-election in Alberta and have his seat there, but he hasn't yet at least acknowledged any of that that's going on is kind of weird to me. I get that was a federal MP and that this is a provincial matter, but it stems from a lack of transparency with the federal government and feeling screwed over from the federal government. That's what the people of Alberta are saying, with 37+% of Albertans that are ready to separate today, if not more. So why isn't Pierre talking about this? Why isn't he either encouraging, discouraging, or even acknowledging the fact that this is going on? Maybe he has, and I just haven't seen it. But maybe he hasn't. And it's just weird right now what's going on. But let's not talk anymore about Pierre, and let's move back to Danielle Smith, because she's actually looking for private investors for this pipeline, which is pretty interesting.
Pushing for pipelines with Danielle Smith earlier today, taking center stage at the Global Energy Show. The Premier says the province is actively working to find a private sector partner for a pipeline project out west. It might take some convincing with BC, and Ottawa has to make good on its promise to build infrastructure. Jordan Canagan reports.
Alberta's premier urged a crowd of energy industry leaders to pressure the feds to get a pipeline approved and built.
But the anchor tenant for this corridor must be a 42-inch pipeline moving 1 million incremental barrels of oil to those global markets.
At the top of Danielle Smith's list of 9 demands to the Prime Minister, a pipeline to Prince Rupert. But she also wants to see pipelines heading north and east. Before making a pitch to Mark Carney, Alberta needs to find private sector partners.
We're talking to all of the pipeline proponents, anyone who has had success in building a pipeline in Canada and has an interest in perhaps coming together as a consortium.
Smith showing confidence she can get the BC Premier on her side.
I'll convince David Eby. I'll convince him.
But David Eby says there's no project to even stand in the way of.
There's no proponent, there's no money, there's no project right now. And so in the event that Premier Smith is successful in assembling those things, then we'll certainly cross that bridge.
Talk of new projects and upping exports comes as the need for energy security is top of mind. Within the industry, there's optimism Canada could be the energy answer as countries look away from the U.S. and its tariffs.
But there's still obviously skepticism that until these things are seen, until the legislation is changed, until some of these very distortive policies are removed, then people will kind of hold their judgment.
Smith says Ottawa seems more open to the idea now, but she wants action as the subject of separatism swells in Alberta.
I have never seen separatist sentiment be as high as it is right now. We've done our own polling, and we've seen numbers as high as 37%. You look historically, I don't know if it's ever been that high. But again, I've also seen it dissipate when Ottawa addresses the legitimate concerns Alberta has.
And Jordan is outside BMO Centre where the energy show is happening. Jordan, when could we know more about the possibility of a new pipeline?
Well, Camilla, of course, building and approving any type of pipeline would take years, but we now know the Prime Minister has a long wish list of major infrastructure projects pitched to him by each province, a pipeline being one of those. Premier Danielle Smith says Ottawa has about 6 months to prove that they are serious about this idea. She says Mark Carney can prove that by changing or getting rid of policies she says is hurtful to the energy sector. In the meantime, Alberta will continue to pursue any type of private sector partners should that pipeline project come to fruition. Camilla?
Thank you very much, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to wait and see how this does play out. That would be kind of cool, though, to see the pipeline privatized. And finally, to wrap this up, we're going to take a look now at what to expect between Trump and Mark Carney meeting at this G7 summit.
Are you close to a trade deal?
Ultimately, it will be these two leaders who make the final decisions on a cooperation agreement that CBC News has learned is inching closer to the finish line. Terms of a possible deal are outlined in a document that is being shared back and forth between Ottawa and Washington, according to 3 sources with direct knowledge of the situation. We've made progress, but it's not over yet, the Prime Minister said during an interview with Radio-Canada. Mark Carney would not confirm the contents of the document, but one source says Canada will commit to participating in the Golden Dome missile defense system.
To protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack.
President Donald Trump's controversial plan could cost hundreds of billions of dollars in total and take years to develop. There are some aspects, maybe anti-missile defense operations, for example, where cooperation could make sense, Carney said. A pledge puzzling critics from the NDP.
Explaining to Canadians why he's pursuing deeper military and economic integration with the United States when he promised Canadians that he would do exactly the opposite.
The document also highlights Canada's plan to reach its NATO defense spending goals, increasing Arctic security and border security improvements. Canada is seeking tariff relief in exchange, particularly in the steel and aluminum industries, after Trump hiked tariffs to 50%, a significant sticking point in those talks.
prendre le temps nécessaire.
We'll take the necessary time, Carney says. You have to have an agreement that is in Canada's interest. Adding Canada can wait. We are getting stronger. The U.S. is becoming weaker. But a deal with Canada does not appear to be top of mind for Trump. He failed to mention Canada specifically when asked about the deals he expects to cut next.
Well, we're dealing with Japan, we're dealing with South Korea, we're dealing with a lot of them. We're dealing with about 15 countries, but as you know, we have about 150 plus, and you can't do that.
Sources have stressed to me they do not believe a deal is imminent. There had been some expectation a broad agreement could be reached by the G7 in Alberta next week. I am told that is not the case. The Trump administration has, of course, been distracted by trade talks with China and the ongoing protests in Los Angeles.
And Katie, so what are the realistic expectations on Canada-U.S. trade coming out of the G7?
Well, progress is going to come down to the conversations between leaders. That is how Donald Trump rolls. It adds another layer of uncertainty to these negotiations. Sources who've dealt with...
There's no uncertainty. Canada investing in the defense that basically meeting our minimum quota of 2% of our GDP is exactly what the president of the United States has wanted. It's exactly what the rest of NATO has wanted. And I can almost guarantee you that these tariffs are going to come off the moment that we get that done. We're not going to be tariffed for the rest of the year. That's absolutely insane. I mean, America would just be sabotaging themselves because then we would have to find trade partners other than America and they'd be losing out. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. And that's why Mark Carney secretly during the campaign literally removed the dollar for dollar retaliatory tariffs. So Canada doesn't have as many tariffs on America as America has on Canada, if we even have any at all, because he removed a bunch of them. So it's all just smoke and mirrors. The parents are going to talk it out. We're investing in our military. That's what America wants. And we're going to have the tariffs removed. So this whole like Trump is evil, blah, blah, blah. Not really. He's actually making Canada invest in ourselves by strong-arming us. Insane, right? Because we should have been doing that from the freaking beginning.